Okay. So welcome to this next panel discussion. All right, how about this? Okay. Welcome back, everyone. If you could please take your seats. We would like to start our next panel discussion. I am Annika Clinton, and I am a member and part of the Wisconsin Cancer Collaborative Steering Committee. And today we have 4 members of the Wisconsin Cancer Collaborative and our cancer control community here to talk about areas of their work that align with the collaborative's Wisconsin Cancer Plan, representing health systems, community clinics, tribal health clinics, and community-based organizations. These individuals work towards reducing the cancer burden for all in Wisconsin. It is my privilege to introduce our distinguished panel. Gigi Sanchez is a Chief Executive Officer at Fe Vida e Esperanza, or Faith, Life, and Hope. The organization was started in memory of her brother, who passed away from cancer in 2015. The mission is to offer support to members of the underserved community affected by cancer. Next, we have Dana Bowler. She is the Health Director of the La Crosse Area Family YMCA. She is passionate about helping participants with their health and wellness. The La Crosse Area YMCA offers an adult and youth cancer survivorship program and other health intervention programs at the Healthy Living Center. And to my left, I have Lisa Albright. She is the Health Promotion Disease Prevention Team Leader at Gerald L. Ignace Indian Health Center. Her team focuses on prevention, education, and raising awareness of chronic disease while encouraging their patients to achieve the best health outcomes possible. And last but certainly not least, Bonnie Anderson is a breast cancer survivor, volunteer, and leader. She is past president of the Wisconsin Breast Cancer Coalition and founder of Nurses Affecting Change, where she built a team of nurse practitioners and nurse clinicians. Join me in a round of applause for our distinguished panel. And we will start with Gigi.
Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Griselda Sanchez. Everyone calls me as Gigi. I am the CEO of Fe Vida y Esperanza, which translates into faith, life, and hope. So when you hear me say Fe Vida y Esperanza, that's what I'm saying in Spanish. I started Faith, Life, and Hope for Fe Vida y Esperanza in memory of my brother, Noe, who passed away of cancer back in 2015 at age 35. And I want to mention, I didn't put it on my notes, 6 months after my brother passed away, my mom gets the breast cancer diagnosis. So our mission at Fe Vida y Esperanza is to offer support to the underserved community affected by cancer. The survivorship event. So in August of 2023, we applied for the survivorship mini grant offered by Wisconsin Cancer Collaborative. We were honored to be a recipient of this grant. With this grant, we were able to successfully deliver 2 events. Our first event, it sounds a little bit weird because of the translation to Spanish, from Spanish to English. Our first event was called Fighting Cancer from Your Kitchen. During this event, we talked about the guidelines from the American Institute for Cancer Research and the World Cancer Research Fund. Our objective of this presentation was to review the cancer prevention guidelines and understand how to apply them, the recommendations to their daily life, everyday life. Cancer patients and survivors learned the recommended amounts of fruits and vegetables containing antioxidants and phytochemicals which help prevent cancer. They also learned that a high consumption of red and processed meats increases the risk of colorectal cancer. Cancer patients and survivors, the majority of them were not aware that they should limit their intake of red and processed meat to a 3 ounce per week, which is the size of a deck of cards. Every cancer patient and survivor receive a gift card from El Rey Food Stores, and a total of 23 cancer patients and survivors attended this first event. Our second event was a survivorship event called the ABCs of Cancer. This event covered basic cancer concepts like hormones and exercise. Raul Romo, a community program coordinator from the Medical College of Wisconsin, talked about the basic concepts of cancer and how they affect the Hispanic community differently. Dr. Juan Julian Castillo, a medical surgeon specialized in anti-aging and regenerative medicine with an emphasis on hormones, talked about how hormones are associated with an increased risk of certain types of cancers. Alvaro Reyes, a physical trainer, talked about the recommended exercise that a person should perform according to their physical limitations. Every cancer patient and survivor during this event was able to ask their questions in Spanish regarding hormones and how they associate with an increased risk of certain cancers, and how exercise benefits cancer patients and survivors. For this event, a total of 20 cancer patients and survivors attended. So what is Faith, Life, and Hope doing to eliminate social barriers of health? So we know that it is disproportionate, the impact of social determinants of health, given that Hispanics have many barriers they face. Some of those social determinants of health are language barrier, access to medical care, education, citizenship status, and others. Fe Vida y Esperanza, Faith, Life, and Hope is eliminating these social determinants of health by offering cultural and linguistic monthly support groups, cultural and linguistic healthcare system guidance when someone comes from their original country, birth country, which is Mexico, Latin America, or the Caribbean. The medical system is different than the medical system in the United States. So we have to teach them, we have to tell them how it works. It's different in the United States. So other services, other things that we do to eliminate social determinants of health. We offer cultural and linguistic healthcare system guidance. Sorry, I had to go back. As well as providing community health resources, making sure the community has everything possible to deal with their situation, which is, going through cancer. From referrals to cancer screenings, cancer prevention, education workshops, to access to affordable funeral homes, to our culturally sensitive to not only to all the Hispanic community, referrals to the Mexican consulate, one-on-one virtual or in-phone support to cancer patients living out in Milwaukee and other states within the United States, in Mexico and Latin America, providing wheelchairs for end-of-life cancer patients to be able to travel back to their birth country, to be either buried down there or to die, see their parents for one last time and be buried down there. We help with filling out financial assistance applications at different organizations. We help with medical equipment access, transportation to medical appointments when possible, as well as transportation to support groups. Whether it is a breast prosthesis, a wig, or a lymphedema arm sleeve, we work to meet the needs of the Hispanic community at no cost. Final words, because of the support you have bestowed upon us, Wisconsin Cancer Collaborative, we reaffirm our commitment to continue to elevate our strategies to serve in a more impactful manner. Your trust in us and your support remind us that we are united in our efforts to fight cancer and always. I offer my heartfelt gratitude, and look forward to seeing the great things which we will accomplish together. Gracias.
Thank you. So I am Dana Moeller. I am the health director at the La Crosse Family YMCA. And I oversee the Live Strong program, which many of you know is a 12-week free program for cancer survivors to gain strength, balance, flexibility after treatment, or those still going through treatment. And we also have a youth cancer survivorship program called Youth Strong. And that is something I'm super passionate about sharing with others as well. So we are very, very grateful to have received this grant for our culinary medicine workshops that we have been doing now with Live Strong since March of 2023. Nutrition's a passion of mine. That's what my degree is in. And so it kind of worked out that when I became the Live Strong coordinator, many participants were asking more about nutrition. They knew that nutrition was part of their health journey, as they didn't want, cancer reoccurrence. They wanted to help their loved ones prevent cancer. So I got tons of questions about nutrition. Thankfully, that was my area, so I wanted to expand on that and bring more nutrition and education into our Live Strong and Youth Strong programs. We work very closely with the Gunderson Health System in La Crosse, and I was very fortunate. We have the Healthy Living Center in our Y, and that is a building where we collaborate with Gunderson for programs. So I already knew I had a great collaborative relationship with them. And so they also have what's called the Plant Partners Committee. And this is a group of over 100 staff at Gunderson that are passionate about just education on food as medicine and sharing with others. So we partnered with them and also different registered dietitians in the oncology department as well. And so we all just collaborated, and we wanted to bring in these culinary medicine workshops to every Live Strong class that comes through our doors, which equals about 10 classes a year. We typically see about 100 survivors in our programs, over 100 survivors in our programs every year. Like I said, we also believe food is medicine. And we talk a lot about whole foods, plant-based. Our biggest goal is just to have people eat more plants. That's really our whole goal of all of our culinary medicine workshops. So we provide really great looking, tasty, delicious recipes. We also, focus on budget and helping them with tips and tricks for budgeting. Eating healthy can sometimes be expensive. So we're really trying to showcase healthy foods that aren't, super expensive. We also do farmers markets, and we'll go there, purchase our foods fresh from that. We have a bunch of resources available. We share all of our recipes, resources. And yeah, we do surveys after each, medicine workshop, and we just get outstanding feedback, and it's so rewarding. Then when I see these people back in the grocery stores and they're like, oh, I'm still making this recipe I learned in your class. And, eating healthy is not expensive and all of those things. And it's just so awesome to see that this work is carrying out, and they're also taking it home to their families and sharing with them and providing them with that nutritious food as well. So we use this grant funding specifically in our 2024 year. We hosted over 90 people in our culinary medicine workshops through Live Strong. We also invite our Youth Strong participants and their families to come to these as well. So that's, younger kids, but all of their families. We also encourage Live Strong to bring a friend, bring a spouse, whoever they would like to bring to these workshops as well. Usually about a 2-hour workshop, but we have a lot of fun, and we always just say it's like a fun cooking show, and
everyone can ask questions and it's really open, and just really informal, but they get really good feedback from it. So these funds that we received from the grant were used to purchase the food. First and foremost, any supplies, we needed to do a couple of kitchen equipment such as a blender. And then we were able to purchase a bunch of different nutrition education books and cookbooks. We have a lending library that anyone is welcome to check those resources out. And then we, every year in June, host a Stay Strong Wellness Retreat, and Stay Strong is our Live Strong alumni group. So anyone that's gone through the programs is welcome to this all-day wellness retreat where we focus on culinary medicine. This year we did like a brunch theme, we did a fitness class, we did a food forest, bathing session, and then a mocktail social hour. So it's just a really fun event that we do every year. So we use some of the fundings to purchase the food for that event as well. I just love sharing pictures because it's so vibrant, the food is so pretty. We change up our recipes and what we do every time based on the season and what's in the season, because we want to showcase that the fresh foods from the local farmers market. So this is probably my favorite dish, but we use beets, which I never was into beets until I had this dish, and so now I make it often. But it's really awesome when people try different things that they're not used to tasting and they love it. So that's been really rewarding. We are very lucky that we have a beautiful teaching kitchen in our facility, and we got brand new cameras. And so there we are, that's where we host a lot of our events. So yeah, just the smiles on their faces, the connection, it's just really rewarding. I had to share a couple of our favorite recipes with you guys. This is super bean hummus. This is probably our most popular. As I said, no one really thinks beets, but it's so good and so pretty. And then also we have pumpkin chickpea blondies, and these are so good, but they have chickpeas in them, so they're healthy too. So yeah, if you want to give these a shot, they're so good. Don't tell your kids or friends what's in them until after they eat them and love them.
Yeah.
So yeah, here's my contact information. If anyone is interested in learning more about our culinary medicine workshops, our Youth Strong program, our Live Strong, I would love to connect with anyone. And thank you again for this grant. We are so grateful for that.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lisa Albright. I am the Health Promotion Disease Prevention Team Leader at the Gerald L. Ignace Indian Health Center. We are a health center. We are located on the south side of Milwaukee on 10th and Mitchell. We're a full-service medical clinic. And we were fortunate enough to be selected as a grant recipient of the Wisconsin Cancer Collaborative. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the program that we developed. What we wanted to do was we wanted to increase our non-smoking rates amongst natives. And so one of the ways we wanted to do that was to increase awareness between traditional and commercial tobacco. And we wanted to just kind of get the thought in people's minds. And so what we decided to do was combine this education along with Native American Heritage Month and the American Cancer Society's Great American Smoke Out. So this is just a little bit of background around tobacco use, or excuse me, commercial tobacco use in the Native American community. We have the highest percentage of tobacco users than any other ethnic group, which of course leads to a higher risk of death. A third of our patients at the clinic report using commercial tobacco versus 11.5% for the general population. And so we started asking ourselves, how can we get our patients to start thinking about stopping commercial tobacco use? And so one of the things we knew is they all know they shouldn't be smoking. And so we thought we could come at it from a cultural side and perhaps highlight how traditional tobacco should be playing a role in their lives and to not use commercial. So as we developed the program, we started to think about what we wanted to offer our patients. First off, we wanted to educate them on the difference between commercial and traditional tobacco. So up here you can see at the top two photos, there's one with pink and one with yellow. The plant with the pink flowers is commercial tobacco. That plant typically reaches 4 to 6 feet high, and it's got a kind of a thinner leaf. The plant on the right, that is traditional tobacco. That only reaches a height of between 2 and 4 feet and has very broad leaves. And also it's much higher, it has much higher concentration of nicotine than commercial tobacco does. So there's some definite differences, and there's also differences in the way that it's used. When someone in the Native American community uses traditional tobacco in ceremony, it's never inhaled. It's never inhaled or ingested into the body the way that commercial tobacco is. And so for that reason, it's respected as a medicinal medicine. And that was what we wanted to, kind of educate our patients about, the importance of honoring traditional tobacco and respecting its part in our own culture. Another thing we wanted to provide was the patient some support to be able to begin their journey without commercial tobacco. And so we put together various information that we put in a bag, but we gave them a list of apps that they could download onto their phone. We gave them information on our own tobacco program called Honoring Tobacco, where they could work with a trained smoking cessation specialist. And then we also wanted patients to understand the impact that commercial tobacco has on Indian country. Not only are they taking our money, but they're making us sick and die. And so we really wanted to make sure that folks are recognizing there is a difference between the two. So to implement the program, we combined the American Cancer Society's Great American Smokeout and Native American Heritage Month, both happening in November, to encourage patients to honor tobacco just for one day. We thought if we can get them thinking about this just for one day, it's a step in the right direction. And, so we provided them with a quick bag or smoking cessation bag. And in that bag, we gave them a book called Walking with the Sacred, which educates them on the difference between commercial and traditional tobacco, and that was put out by the Great Lakes Intertribal Council. We also provided them with a pledge card that we asked them to sign to honor their pledge not to use commercial tobacco on the day of the Great American Smokeout, which last year was November 20th. And then we also provided them with a sage stick. Sage is another one of our sacred medicines. And we felt this might be a good stress reliever if somebody was having the urge and wanted to smoke, they instead could use, another traditional medicine. And then we also gave them a quick go, which is, it looks like a cigarette, but it has no nicotine, but it mimics or allow people to mimic, the action of smoking. And we thought that might help with their cravings as well. So how did it work? Actually, it worked great. Our smoking cessation program was off to a very, very slow start. We had very little interest. People might schedule appointments and then at the last minute they would cancel, or they'd come one time and then you'd never see them again. And so this was a great way to jumpstart getting folks into the smoking cessation program and getting them thinking about it. So as a result, we were shooting for 50 people that day. We got 27. And they all received the smoking cessation bag, and then we followed up with all of them afterwards. And just about half of them, 12 folks, did come back to the clinic and sign up for smoking cessation services and worked with a smoking cessation counselor. And participants indicated they really appreciated the supports and the tools that we gave them in that bag, because it did help them get through the day as well as provide the education that we were hoping to. And so I'm really happy to say that we will be able to offer this again this year in November, because we saw such great success. Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to do a quick swap to a video.
Bonnie Anderson. In 1993, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So after I finished with my treatment, I joined a African American breast cancer support group. It became very evident that African American women were diagnosed at a later stage than the other population. I tried to help as many African American women as I could as they were going through these trials of breast cancer. My personal journey was not nearly as hard as some of these women. I decided that it was time to do more. That's where Nurses Affecting Change came in. We go around the community in Milwaukee and Racine and Kenosha, and we set up clinics. We use a regular massage table. We have nurse practitioners, nurse clinicians who assist us in this effort. We bring the ladies into our makeshift clinic, and we do clinical breast exams. We educate the ladies on how they should be checking themselves. Since 2011, we've probably been able to touch the lives of at least 10,000 women or more. Educate yourself about breast health and breast cancer. It is still around. You do not need to have a family history to be diagnosed with breast cancer. I personally was diagnosed with breast cancer years ago, and no one in my family since then has been diagnosed. So make sure that you know that you can get breast cancer, whether you have a family history or not. So you want to make sure that you know your body. You want to make sure that you have a clinical breast exam. And if you're over 40, make sure you have a mammogram. There are other standards out there from different agencies, American Cancer Society, different places. But I would encourage an African American woman to make sure that she has a mammogram by age 40, because we tend to have breast cancer at younger ages. African American women are still being diagnosed at late stage. But Nurses Affecting Change will always be around until this disease is no more.
Thank you. First, I would like to thank you that was it's great what we do. And as I said before, I was diagnosed in 1993. And when I was diagnosed, my situation was just not that devastating. I had great support. I had insurance. I had a job that allowed me to be off whenever I needed to be off without a problem at all. So first thing I did, my doctor sent a Reach to Recovery volunteer to my hospital out there. There was a time when they stayed in the hospital for 5 days when they had them stay. So she gave me this brown boob thing to wear my prosthesis, and she taught me exercise. So I wanted to give back. When I was diagnosed, as soon as I could, when I finished my 6 months of chemotherapy, I wanted to get back. So I joined the Reach to Recovery at the American Cancer Society and became a volunteer. When I became a volunteer, that is when it became apparent to me that African American women were challenged with this so much different than I had imagined. I actually saw cancer, my cancer, as not being a real big deal, because it wasn't for me, because everything fell into place for me. But I was sent to women who were in their 30s, who had never even thought about checking themselves, who had waited until their cancer was so aggressive. So I thought, I have to do something. I felt a moral obligation to do something. So I met with Dr. Sandra Underwood probably in about 1995. I went to one of her conferences at Italian Community Center. And I thought, wow. So I walked up to her and I began to educate myself and understand just how important breast cancer was and the great disparities that my community was facing with breast cancer. So I kind of joined these with Dr. Underwood, and now we're best friends. And I followed her around forever all over the world. But what I have learned and continue to learn, that this is not going away. This is not going away. We have to continue to teach women what to do. So what Nurses That Can Change does every Saturday, and sometime on Fridays, a lot of times on Sundays. So let's get real, almost every week. We are actually out in the community, at churches, at apartment complexes, every low-income apartment complex in Milwaukee and housing project in Milwaukee. We go on Saturdays. We set up a clinic. We have massage tables, we set them up, we have gowns for the ladies, and we do clinical breast exams. We educate the women on how to check themselves. We give them referrals as needed. We work real well with Wisconsin Wellness Program and other situations to help them get the service that they need. Because women still, even though all of us in this room know a lot about breast cancer probably, there's still so many women who don't. So we go to these places, we set up clinics, we make sure with the apartment complexes, we have women that we check every year. And they wait for us. It's almost like they don't go to have their breast exam or their mammogram until Nurses That Can Change gets there, because they need that encouragement. So I would encourage everybody here, if your circle of influence are women that you think are not doing what they're supposed to do, sit and talk to those women, because breast cancer is still around. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. These women need us. And I'll leave you with this. My friend Dr. Underwood always says, the work continues. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our panelists, and I believe you still have those papers on your table, so if you have questions for any of these, please write them, we will collect them. But to begin, I have a few questions, so for each of you, if you'd like to share your thoughts on how to engage community members in cancer control work.
Like community is one that we run to. What we do, the first thing we ask a woman is, have you ever had a mammogram? If she's over age 40. If she's over age 18, we ask, have you ever had a clinical breast exam? Have you ever checked yourself? And when we get the answer of no, we start from there. We start with the educational process, we invite them to have a clinical breast exams. And it goes from there. But every woman we see, even the one that we have someone who's sitting out in the audience, they're not coming to nobody not to have a breast exam. And we keep looking at them. And I'll go to the table and talk to them. You'll be surprised. Some women just need encouragement.
So we engage our community at our clinic. We have a number of different awareness days. So for example, we'll have a CRC awareness day, we'll have Heart Month Day, we have Indigenous Pink Day. And so those are our opportunities to connect with the community that we serve and our clinical patrons to do, something like Ms. Anderson said is, have you had your mammogram yet? Have you had your colonoscopy? And to just get that conversation started, and we have two CHWs, we're fortunate enough to have two CHWs on our team. And so they really help bridge that gap between the clinic and the community, doing that outreach, and just asking simple questions like, when were you last screened, or what do you know about this? And a lot of times, because our CHWs look like them, they are very open to discussing or talking about where they're at with their screenings or preventative care.
We have a really good relationship with both Gunderson and Mayo and La Crosse. So we do get a lot of referrals for our programs from them. We also have a lot of members at our Y that we constantly share about Livestrong. And so that all of our members can share that with their friends or family who may be affected by cancer. We do different pop-up events throughout the year. Pedal for a Purpose is one that we do an all-day cycling event on our Y, and that all goes to, you know, fund both U-Strong and Livestrong. We are partnering with like the Loggers baseball team to offer fun different events there. So we're definitely just trying to get out in the community and share that this is a free program for anyone that's ever been affected by cancer. And it's for everyone, even though I get many people saying, oh, I don't need that, I feel bad taking someone's spots, you know, I let them know that they surely have a spot in our class for sure.
So building on that, do you offer the classes virtually? Because I have a feeling people here would love to participate.
Great question. As you saw our lovely cameras that we have in those pictures, we just revamped our whole kitchen with another grant that Gunderson received. So we might be able to do them virtually down the road. I know Gunderson and us are kind of looking at expanding. My dream would just be to go on the road in like a really cool food truck and just go to everyone's, you know, health systems. We already named it Roots on the Road, so check out for our future grant. But no, we would just love to be able to share with anyone, any cancer survivor. So maybe like a virtual series or something would be really fun. That's, yeah, I guess I'll have to get back to work.
Thank you. Question for Bonnie. Who follows up on clients who have suspicious lumps in their breasts after their breast exam?
We have an exam form that the nurse practitioners and the nurse clinicians fill out when they're doing the checking the ladies. When they find something, they give the form to me and Carla Harris. And we follow up with we call the women, if it's on Monday, usually. Our programs usually on Saturdays, we'll call the woman at Monday morning. And we've gone to the doctors with them, we've faxed them, we have the doctor access to fax the exam form that we have. But we follow with the ladies and we stay with them. They're diagnosed, we make sure that they have support. If they have to have treatment, we make sure that they have support. But it's Carl Harris and I, we've been doing it for the last years.
Wonderful. How has your grant opened other opportunities or illuminated other pathways for future growth?
So, and we do want to expand how many we're offering, and not just for Livestrong survivors, you know, those wanting to prevent cancer. So we have done in the past culinary medicine workshops open to any of our Y members and community members. So we're kind of looking at just growing that and focusing on the prevention of cancer as well.
For our programming, what we do is. Oh, yeah, sorry. So for us, it was a really great opportunity because this was a pilot program. We had never done anything like this before, and so it really was a great way for us to be able to try something out, kind of test the waters, see how it goes, see how it was received by our patients and clients and then kind of go from there. And since it was such a success, we are going to continue to offer it. So it was a wonderful stepping stone for us to be able to kind of introduce a new program to our community.
I'm not sure if this is part of this question, but I'm just sitting here thinking that over time, what we have done, nurses effective change, as I said, nurse practitioners, nurse clinicians, and community health workers that work with us. Over time, we understand that education, screening, and all those things are very, very important. But what we also understand is that legislation, as it relates to breast cancer issues, is very important too. So a lot of our nurses have joined the Wisconsin Breast Cancer Coalition, the National Breast Cancer Coalition, and go on Capitol Hill here in Wisconsin and nationally to push bills that's gonna help us as breast cancer survivors and women diagnosed with breast cancer.
Well, that is powerful. Any other questions from the audience?
Oh, sure. I have no qualm speaking. I've been hearing from different women. I'm Charlene Smith, I'm with the Pink Shawl Program. And we are a group of breast cancer survivors and from different levels. And some of the volunteers with our program are family and friends, but not necessarily survivors. And we are I hear from women that older women, my doctor tells me I don't have to have a mammogram anymore. I don't have to have pelvic exams anymore because I'm 60, I'm 65, I'm 70, 75. That's not a magic number where cancer stops. You know, so we have to dispel this information that the doctors are giving to our women that, you know, you're safe, you know, because you're 65. Hell no, you know, your immunities are down, right? As we're learning, your immunity systems are diminishing as we get older. So that's one of the things that we have to quarrel with. I have a quarrel with doctors that say that to our women. And the women say, should I change doctors? If you feel good with that doctor for whatever else they treat, fine. You know, maybe you want to find a different doctor, a different gynecologist, you know, whoever it is that will perform, you know, other exams on you that go with the idea that you are always at risk, you know, for a cancer. And so I guess that was my question. Maybe one of the other provider, oh, Bonnie wants to say something.
And I work in a long-term care facility. And every year we have a breast cancer awareness program for the staff and for the residents. Sometimes we have Ascension's mammography van there. And last year we had about 15 residents who wanted to have their mammogram at the long-term care, it's an apartment complex, long-term care. So what I tell older women when they say, should I have a mammogram? I tell them, if you feel that you should have a mammogram, you don't need a doctor's okay, just call Columbia St. Mary's or call your facility and schedule a mammogram. But I think it's up to the woman, whatever her age is, if she feels healthy, if she feels that's what she wants to do, it's up to her.
Thank you. Any other questions in the room?
Didn't want to forget this, but because, well, this is our grantees and you've all stayed to the end, I wanted to let you know that we're actually going to launch new grants next week. So there is going to be an opportunity for survivorship grants, kind of similar to this. Our mini grants we're going to open up. It actually probably might already be launched online. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned it. So everybody goes and looks and checks if you are interested in receiving a mini grant in the next year to do work like this. It can kickstart a program, it can help support some of the work we're doing. But I just wanted to let everybody know that announcement won't come out until our newsletter, but you guys can go on and check it out earlier. That's it. Sorry, I wanted to make sure I got that.
Absolutely important information, and I would just like to thank all of our panelists. Thank you for sharing your time and
end of the day. What a fast day, what wonderful speakers. The team has really put together a great agenda for the day. So you know, I'm the one who makes you do these kind of awkward physical activity breaks, just because, you know, you sit for a few minutes or 30 minutes or more and your blood pools in your lower extremities and you might start to get tired after lunch. So our stretch break this afternoon before our final speaker is we've seen maps of Wisconsin. We've seen incident maps that have shown where concentrations of cancer diagnoses are. We have people in this room, I think, from the 4 or 5 sections of the Division of Health has our sections scattered into or divided up into the western region, the northern region, the southern region, the central, and I think the eastern region. So as I call your region of the state that you're in, I want you just to stand and just see if we have anyone who's still sitting at the end, and then I have another question that'll make them stand as well. Okay, so if you're from the northern region of Wisconsin, or you relate to the northern part of Wisconsin, I'd like you to stand. Did all our northern people go home? No, they're still here. The western region of Wisconsin, I'd like you to stand. Us are still here. I'm standing already. If you're from the southern region of the state of Wisconsin, I'd like you to stand. And if you're from the central part of the state of Wisconsin, I'd like you to stand. Oh, everyone still stay standing. You're not done yet. Okay, the ladies sitting around the table, where do you live?
They do want to stand up.
Oh, okay. I'd like everyone who can stand to stand, please.
Did she say this? I didn't hear.
And then I just wanted to acknowledge that all of us are touched in one way or another by what we were learning about today, this disease, cancer. If you have a personal connection to cancer, either you've had a diagnosis of cancer, or if you are a caregiver of someone who is living with, or you've lost to cancer, I just want you to wave your arms in the air. If you're a medical, we can all stop that now. If you're a medical provider and you provide care for people who are struggling with cancer or caregivers, I want you to also wave your arms in the air. Do you have any medical folks in here? Okay. And if you provide any kind of social support, might be support group, it might be just support to a neighbor or a friend, I want you to also raise your hands. It's all of us. We're all touched by this disease many times, multiple ways at one time. And I just want to acknowledge the great support that's here, the energy that's in the room, and now I'll let you sit down. Thank you. So we have our final speaker of the day, and I would like to introduce you, someone we've heard about already, Joshua Wright. Joshua is a community project coordinator for the Cancer Health Disparities Initiative at the UW Cancer Center. He works with organizations and community members to support health awareness through cancer prevention activities, education, and programs. Please join me in welcoming Joshua Wright.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging in there, even though I feel like everybody is getting something from this particular year of the annual Cancer Summit. So congratulations on making it this far, and we'll take things on. Again, my name is Joshua Wright. My working title is a community project coordinator. I work in the Cancer Health Disparities Initiative at the Carbone Cancer Center. That is a small team in the population science and community outreach and engagement division. And so we also are colleagues with the Wisconsin Cancer Collaborative, and I really appreciate them for giving me a chance to talk about something that is new, that is coming, that has come out. And I do have the pleasure of speaking with you today about the many different ways that we share information, but it's not like new things. It's just stuff that we can be reminded of. Maybe take a trip down memory lane. But this overarching idea of connecting through media is connected to the theme of building connections. But also, I just wanted to touch on the definition of medium, which is the singular version of media. And I just did a Google search like anybody would and found that the Oxford Dictionary via Google says that the definition of medium is the intervening substance through which impressions are conveyed to the senses or force acts on objects at a distance. Now, I thought that was pretty interesting because, you know, that seems like a lot of words, but just looking at the intervening substance, right? We are trying to communicate about the topic of cancer, and we can do it in many different ways. So everybody that has spoken here today, I just want to give you an extra token of gratitude because you have shared so many useful things, but also important messages. And so words that we share and seeing that they've traveled faster than ever now, I just wanted to start off at the beginning of the word of mouth. And you know, I like watching movies and things like that, but you know, when they depict what it's like for the messenger to show up, right? And so maybe there's a scene from a movie or something, and so somebody's frantic and they're coming up and they're trying to deliver an important message, but you know, they have to catch their breath first because they've had to travel so far to deliver whatever this message is from wherever the message originated. And so from there, books were started to be created. And I like to bring up these types of things because again, the medium, being able to really look back and understand the concept of how we got to where we're at. And of course, books are thousands of years old and they're connected to the invention of the printing press. But when I actually looked it up, it wasn't specific around when books were actually developed or created because of course they had their uses in different ways for different places for many, many years. And so that's why I just pointed to the thousands of years old. From there, we have newspapers and weekly news sheets were handwritten in their beginnings and were focused on war information and politics. And that actually traces back to Venice, Italy, where they look at an example of what the modern newspaper can be traced to. And that was also from 1566. Next, we have the telegraph. Bonus points. Anybody know the name of the person who's credited for the telegraph? Take a chance, leave out there.
No.
Okay, so what is the code that's the tax? Okay, somebody did you look that up? As soon as I said it, you were like, okay, that's the first, okay. Yes, it gave me, yes, let's do that. Okay, so Samuel Morse in 1844 was credited for sending the first telegraph message using Morse code. And that actually traveled from Washington, DC to Baltimore. And then, again, just trying to bring us up to speed, but the next invention is the radio. And this is accredited to an Italian inventor, and it was around 1895. And his name is Guglielmo Marconi. Hope I pronounced that right. But yeah, so just getting a sense of, you know, over time, how long it took for us to get to our present moment of understanding media and those types of things. So next, of course, is television. And that started in 1927 and was demonstrated by Philo Farnsworth in San Francisco. And so after all of those wonderful inventions, we're starting to get to where we understand communication and word being shared today. And so of course, we gotta come to the creation of the computer. And it was interesting finding out a little bit about the history of computers. But the most basic concept of computing and a machine that could function as kind of a mathematical contraption dates back to 200 BC. And was called the Antikythera mechanism. So I was pleasantly surprised by what that showed. But it wasn't until 1943 that the first programmable computer was created and used to decipher German communication by the British during World War II. Now, this next version of the computer was called the Altair 8800. Okay, does anybody recognize that name in this? AT&T, that's where the original of AT&T came from? Yeah, okay, so yeah, just the model, yeah, the Altair 8800. And that was available for purchase by the masses in 1974. Okay, so we have come a long way in terms of how information is shared, and specifically, words and the ways that, like, just the world has gotten a bit smaller as we have advanced through these types of communication. And as I mentioned, that example of, somebody being out of breath and showing up to deliver a message, good news or bad news, to the fact that, we were able to, without having any type of physical need, the radio gave us the ways of being able to communicate across wide bodies of water, and like those types of instantaneous ways of communication have really taken us into a new realm of how information spreads. But now we also have the internet, and this is what we all know changed everything. So the Data Defense Network changed things in January of 1983, and that was what that quick search that I found led to the rise of the internet. Are there any types of devices that I didn't mention that should get a shout out?
Cell phones.
Oh, okay, well.
We're getting there, right?
Cell phones, no, I did, that's a good point. I didn't put cell phones in the mix because I just skipped to the internet, right? But that's very good. I didn't think to include telecommunications in that form. So I did put the telegraph, but I didn't say anything about the telephone, or I didn't say anything about the cell phone. So thank you for the next time I get a chance to present for being able to put that in there. But that is very, very good points, but I just left it at the internet because, of course, now everybody usually, I know people are resistant to technology in some ways, but most of us have telephones or cell phones that have internet access. And that is the important point of being able to understand that now the announcement is focused on a podcast that the Carbone Cancer Center has now stood up. And why choose a podcast? So fortunately, we had, again, a lot of great people sharing this morning. And Greg Gard mentioned the two things that we all have in common. One being we have been impacted by cancer in some way, shape, or form, but we want to help, right? And so in that vein, that's why the Cancer Center wants to start a podcast and add and contribute to the landscape of this conversation. But as you're seeing as well, accessibility is an important issue that we're trying to overcome in many ways. And that is one of the main reasons that a podcast would be a great platform to start sharing this information or adding to the information that we already have. And so I wanted to have a little bit of fun as well, because this talk show model is not new. And I wanted to hear from anybody in the crowd, what was a favorite talk show that you may remember or want to share with everybody?
Oprah.
Oprah?
Is there anybody with Oprah?
That would be a host of people that would be waiting to say, like Sally Jesse Raphael or Montel Jordan, or maybe Jerry Springer would be like. David Letterman, right, talk show, right? Johnny Carson, see, yeah, Johnny Carson, Conan O'Brien, yes, okay, Johnny.
Geraldo Rivera.
Geraldo Rivera, yes, thank you so much, right, so this is what I'm pointing to in terms of a tried and true method. Talk shows have been very much popularized and have stood the test of time, but now we're seeing them on different platforms and how we're being able to engage with different topics and conversation. So yeah, with that understanding, it's like, okay, that's another reason why podcasts make sense. You know, they're the newest version of being able to have this kind of talk show platform where we have a host and a guest or multiple guests. And fortunately enough, I was able to propose this idea to my supervisors, and they were receptive enough because the Carbone Cancer Center has been wanting to start a podcast. It's just, how are we going to come together building these connections? And so a little bit of background information about how this happened was during our times of isolation, where we were doing all of the things virtually. I was able to attend a virtual conference that was hosted by the Rebalance Life Wellness Association, an organization founded by Aaron Perry. And so he has an Off to a Good Start annual men's health conference that just really starts off at the beginning of the year, wanting to encourage men to, you know, do those things and get on board with taking proactive steps about your health. And in that space, there was the company that helped facilitate that virtual experience, Omniverse Media Group, and the individual, Mr. Deliano Johnson, who owns that company, was able to start this thing on time and end this thing on time. And I'm talking about like to the second. And so I was very impressed by what he was able to help manage in that particular space, because as we've all experienced in certain kind of ways over that virtual time, it was like, hey, we need to give things time, or, you know, it's hard to be structured. We don't know what kind of technical issues we will have. Someone usually has going through something, camera's not working, microphone's not working, all of that. And he was able to successfully keep us within that designated time. And I was like, okay, this guy has something special going on. And I was luckily able to continue to reach out to him, and just, you know, talking to him. And cancer is something that is an experience that, of course, as we talk about, touches a lot of people's lives. And so he was very understanding and receptive to this idea. And so I was able to say, hey, let's see what it would be like to propose this podcast idea. And it just so happened that that was well received. And now we are in a place where we do have a podcast for the Carbone Cancer Center. And I do want to, you know, just point out the reality as well, that we are in competition for everybody's attention, right? And thank you for the acknowledgement, the headline. But this is just one of the ways that, you know, makes it palatable, right? It makes it something that people can digest at their convenience. But also it's that, okay, we're trying to ease our way into this. We are a special group of people because we're in the trenches and continue to find ways to talk about cancer. It's a necessary thing. But Greg Gard also, you know, mentioned that people are part-time in this work. And so how are we able to fit this in a way that people are receptive to? And the podcast is a great tool to start doing that. So the name of the podcast is called Cancer Clear and Simple. And this actually was, its first episode was released on Friday, August 16th of 2024. So look, we're literally a month into releasing episodes. And so this is a very, very new endeavor. And we would appreciate your support in coming along on this journey with us. And depending on what you might have to share, we're still looking for guests for this podcast. And the great thing about it is this work is an extension of the work of the Cancer Health Disparities Initiative. So that very first episode featured my wonderful colleagues in the Cancer Health Disparities Initiative, some of whom who are with us today. And we get a chance to really talk about the things that have been covered today in this space as well. And so focusing on getting to share experiences and perspectives from underserved populations that are experiencing a higher cancer burden in the state of Wisconsin. But this, as a podcast living in a virtual space, it will not be confined to the borders of Wisconsin. It's just, of course, where our home base is. And we want to include, of course, the researchers and the medical professionals in this conversation as well. And we want to do what we can to contribute to the wide range of topics. And so what I would like to do is just give a little support here in a moment. You have your devices ready. But you know, we're thinking about the concept of pushing things forward, being able to make these advances in terms of communicating and having a chance to get people's attention. And as it's been made very clear today, how are we going to save lives, right? Part of the importance of the information is that we are actually saving lives in this work. And we don't want to undersell that or take that for granted. And that the raising awareness part, talking about screening, I love sharing the work about the clinical breast exams, like very actionable information. And being able to know and feel that, yes, these things are doing what they're supposed to be in terms of being able to, as it says on the screen, defeating the scary parts of this disease, right? So I feel like in my outreach work, part of what inhibits us from going further into the conversation is because these are tricky moments. Unless you actually have lived experience, which I do not have, it's something that you can't make that connection with. But being here in this space is the information that people outside of this room need to start hearing more of, to make sure that if they have questions, they're not having to be afraid to ask the questions, but also getting one step closer to asking a question that's going to be beneficial to them in their situation, whatever it may be. And so those things are very crucially important. And also, I'm excited about the opportunities of being able to bring people closer to the possibilities of eliminating cancer. With the types of vaccines that we know are available, with the types of, like, so colorectal cancer screening being that gold standard of cancer screening by being able to actually prevent cancer. Those are the types of things that, without being able to talk about them enough, people don't have a sense or have an awareness that they're actually possible. And so with the podcast platform, one of the exciting ideas is like, hey, we want to bring people closer into understanding that. And that's where we know that we're going to be able to beat this thing. We're going to be able to beat cancer with the help of everybody actually paying attention. And so here's the ask at this particular moment. With your special device thingy, I'm skipping ahead. Yes, you can QR code this thing, but whatever app that you have on your listening device, do we have Spotify listeners? Can I get Spotify listeners raise your hand? Okay. Apple is Apple. I did Apple second because I'm a Samsung, I guess I got two. Android guy, right? So if you could kindly look up Cancer Clear and Simple on your favorite listening app. Just wanted to do a little test run to make sure that it's highly available. Oh, okay, I see some nods, This QR code is gonna take you directly to the landing page that has been created on, affiliated with the Carbon Cancer Center. So any one of these things works. And, based on having that stellar production manager at Omniverse.
Yep.
Awesome. At Omniverse, he has made it available on more than 15 listening platforms and counting. We are also on YouTube as far as the Carbon Cancer Center, YouTube channel. That's the one. Excited, I'm glad, excited, we start listening right away when we. But yes, so this is where you can find the Cancer Clear and Simple podcast. And I also wanted to give a shout out to the name of the podcast being directly related to the educational curriculum that the Cancer Health Disparities developed. Before I was a staff member and became a staff member in 2015, this great educational modules were being developed, and they again were very much using the health literacy principles to work with the underserved populations in developing those messages, those cancer basic tenets, being able to understand prevention, being able to understand screening. And so this is also just an homage, paying homage to not only that education curriculum, but the understanding that we need to do what we can to break down the information, to make it in a way where people are able to carry it forth and not either lose the technicality of it, but also be able to harness the fact that these things should be part of our common understanding, common language. And I think that would help just a bit when it comes to, people not wanting to lean in when they hear that somebody has either a diagnosis or is going for a screening, right? In the prevention side of things, I'm encouraging the fellas to go in because it's like, hey, if you get it and you're clear and you're good, hey, that's one less thing to have to worry about, right? And so in that type of way, being able to even get to a place where it's like, you're considering screening because you feel fine, which is when the screenings count. We're talking about screening when you don't have symptoms. Then that's gonna be the situation where we can continue to be like, see, that wasn't that bad. Let's get to the next step, or let's encourage the next person. But also if there is something, then we know that, hey, treatments are getting better and better and better. Screenings are getting more and more sensitive or more and more specific. We are learning and leading into a space where precision medicine is gonna start doing amazing things for people. And so gotta start small, gotta start basic, gotta start simple. And now I was a little bit nervous too, because we got ahead of schedule, like that thing that was announced earlier today. That's an amazing facet. So without like droning on and on and on, I will get to my thank you. Of course, I want to thank the Carbon Cancer Center, the Wisconsin Cancer Collaborative. You guys are awesome. Also want to give a shout out to my supervisor and faculty lead, Dr. Erlise Ward, and Elsie Dolke. So she got and had to exit stage left before started getting up here to speak. But I wanted her to get some of her recognition as well, because again, these types of connections, building connection, don't really happen if we don't have the proper supports in place. And so shout out to Omniverse Media Group, all of the listeners and followers, which would end up being you in this equation. So I can be, reached at jawright@wisc.edu. And part of what is the growth process, is how are we gonna find those and how are we gonna do the engagement piece, right? So that's on the next, levels of where we're growing to, right? So how are we going to have an ongoing conversation? That is not set up yet. But you can feel free to reach out to me if you would like, if you have any questions or suggestions. With having this space and being in this space, the topic of childhood cancers is now something that is more on my mind, and how can we find the right people to come in and talk about that, because that is a sector or section of cancer care, cancer survivorship that I can't remember the last time I heard somebody talk about that particularly. So again, there's lots of things that we can talk about that I'm so excited to talk about, but I just want to give an extra thank you to the Wisconsin Cancer Collaborative for providing this particular space to say, hey, we have something going, there's something new on the horizon, we want you to participate, and yeah, let's make a good effort out of this. So thank you so much for your time, and I hope you.
Let's give a round of applause again. Thank you, Joshua, for helping to increase our awareness and demonstrating how media can be an effective tool to break down barriers around awareness and talking about cancer. I have one question for you, and that is, how long is are the podcasts?
Yes, they are about 30 to 45 minutes per episode. So just trying to, again, that's a great question. There is a various range of that, but we wanted to have it like for the morning commute, right? So
Right.
we're in that kind of little time, that's what we thought we would be able to start off.
So digestible tidbits of information that you can listen to when you have 30 or 40 minutes on your commute, or you're waiting for a kid to get done with practice, or whenever it might be. Thank you. I think it's great. So now it's time to wrap up our 2024 Wisconsin Cancer Summit. I've just really been mulling over some feelings that I have in the day, things that lighted up for me when I heard the various speakers talk. And one of them is the humility that it takes to come up here and be so vulnerable to some of our survivors. That was really an impressive presentations this afternoon. The connections, we talked about connections, that was the theme of the summit, were the connections that were made. And then I also think the small steps that need to be taken. So 20 people in an event might not seem like a big deal to some people who are used to having 100 people at events, but those small steps lead to all of those 20 people talking to someone else. And the next event might be triple that size because of the small steps that are made by each and every event that we conduct or we coordinate and reach out. So before I share all of your thoughts, what I'd like to do is have Beth assist and go around the room, and if there would be a few people, I'm hoping that have 5 or more people share what their takeaways are for the day as well. So if you raise your hand, Beth will come to you and we'll just hear what your takeaways or themes or what was valuable about today's event. Now, I know you're all waiting for someone else to put their hand up first, but hey.
Hi, everyone. This is our first meeting, and I just want to say that it can be overwhelming kind of coming from somewhere else and meeting a lot of people who have been in this area or around this area their entire lives, and you want to get in, you want to help. People are intimidated, so I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that's been so gracious and so welcoming and patient to someone who may feel like an outsider. And I'll definitely be back for years to come, so thank you for that.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share your thoughts or what kind of popped up for you? Yay.
Hi, I'm Carol Cameron from the Wisconsin Pink Shawls. And, some of the stories that we heard today from our survivors panel to, what, Maria Shea talked about in regards to the challenges, that they face in the, community where they talk 5 different languages and the work that they're doing in the, Hmong community is just incredible. I've met with them before, but I didn't realize all the work that they put in with serving their population, and I hope other people take that away with, from this event. Because we are seeing more and more diverse populations, that are needing help, and also the indigenous population that we have 11 tribes here in the state. We invite you all to our Share the Care, which will be May 6th through the 8th in Bowler, Wisconsin at the Stockbridge Mall weekend, so I had to get that one in there. But, the stories, were really incredible and I really appreciate that. Everybody shared.
Sounds good.
And we look forward to participating in your,
And we have one more over here, Beth. Or at least one more, one on this side, we gotta get this side of the room. Involved as well.
I was reminded of a little, I don't know what you wanna call it. It jiggles in my brain when I hear things, and one of them about Mr. Wright's program, how words travel faster than ever. And in the listing that he had, it was telegraph, telephone, telewoman.
That's very scary. On this side of the room, any tidbits you'd like to lift up or things that you'll take home with you? Takeaways? Thank you.
Okay, I think I cried more at this one than anyone at this time. I don't know if anyone else is helpful, but, so I'm Jenna Daniel with the Wisconsin Cancer Reporting System, and quite a few folks over here are too, and the start of the summit, we give the graphic about upstream and downstream, and I mean, talk about downstream. So we make an effort to show up to this and participate when we can, because like has been said many times today, it makes us realize or remind us that this is why we do what we do. And all of those fears, all of the stories, all of that vulnerability, it's why we exist. So thank you to everyone that shared your stories and for everyone that's doing all of the boots on the ground work. It means a lot. So thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, it takes effort to get here, to get away from your busy jobs and to be present and make a difference. I mean, it takes all of us though. Every single one of you has a touch on someone who is on that cancer journey, whether it's yourself or loved one or the patients that you work with each and every day. So a couple thank yous here. First of all, thank you to you, our participants. We all hold the power to make an impact in the work of cancer control, health equity, and cancer disparities. But you're not alone. You have partners in this room and throughout Wisconsin. Wisconsin Collaborative. Oops, I forgot to switch. Sorry. Thank you, Beth, for keeping me real. You have partners in this room and throughout Wisconsin and the Wisconsin Cancer Collaborative. It's inspiring to see the networking taking place, and I hope you've met someone new that you can follow up with in the days to come. I know I have. Also, if you're new to the collaborative, please continue to pay attention to the website. Join being a part of the network is free. And that's a wonderful thing because the resources will come to you automatically without you having to go out searching for them. There is an evaluation. And here's the code for the evaluation. Finally, please make sure you complete the evaluation. It helps the team planning next year's summit to take into consideration things that we maybe could do a little bit better or things that we should change or topics that we should be talking about that we know are on the cutting edge in your minds. There'll also be a follow-up email that'll be sent out to you in the next couple of days. They take your responses and your suggestions to heart and look at how they can incorporate all the changes or all the changes and the feedback that you provide. One other thing that I'm gonna call a homework, so to speak, or call your attention to was one of the speakers that was up here, I think this in the survivor group, who said, people say to you, I'm here with you. And I would challenge all of you to not just be there with the person that you know of who's struggling, but ask for how you could help them or offer to do something to help them. I think about, again, my personal story, when my husband was going through a stem cell transplant, it was someone sent us a book of stamps. And that was great because someone else sent us a pack of thank you cards. And I could then write thank you notes to people who had visited or called or sent meals or whatever it was. I mean, it was just a small thing like that. So when you say you're walking through the journey with someone, act on that, because I think that's really important. Don't wait for them to ask for help, because many people are just, we think we can take care of everything ourselves. And the caregivers send a book of stamps. That was great, because then I could write the thank you notes because my husband wasn't able or willing or interested. Probably I'll do that, but it was something that I could do when I was in the room with him when he was recovering. So be there, be present, have that be your take home homework or your action step, is to be present to those that are on that cancer journey. So I think we will call the 2024 Cancer Summit to a close. And we can all look forward to meeting again next year around this time for another fulfilling day. Let's give the planning committee a round of applause. To all of you that are traveling to all of those regions of Wisconsin, and we hope we'll see you again next year.
And my final thank you to Nicola. So thank you.
No, that was my computer.
Did the recording stop?
Oh, this is my computer.